Hey, what's up? This is Seraph, the philosophy guy. Welcome to yet another session of the Academy of Secular Thought. And in this particular episode, I want to talk about the poem I recently released called Just My Old Man. I think the poem comes from a place where, in a short period of my life, I came across to one of the greatest fears I could ever experience, and that's the possibility of having to lose a parent. So there was some health complications that Dad had, and then because we took it upon ourselves to rush him to the hospital on time, he managed to stabilize and get back on his feet. But just that whole process, the few days we were running up and about to see to it that his health is back to normal, was kind of a very, very trying situation and an experience which is quite hard to go through because none of us had actually seen this coming. It was really unplanned, it was random, and that made me realize just how fluid life can be. One simple event and one simple occasion can turn everything around and switch your life into a position that you never thought you could ever be in. Just one complication. And what I took from that experience was you have to be able to make every day and minute count. And for people like me who are of the idea that this material world that we're currently living in is the only world that we can know with absolute certainty that we can live in. It's the only world where I can say with confidence that the human experience is embodied in. If there is a world that goes beyond the material world, if there is a world that is somewhat numinous and transcendent and goes beyond the natural world, that's not something I know with absolute certainty. There's a lot of good, intelligent, philosophical arguments that you can raise to suppose that there's something that goes beyond our conscious experience, or that our material body, or that our conscious survives the decay of our material body. A lot of people have made that, but usually such claims find their place in religious realms. And I, for one, don't think probability arguments make any good arguments. And with probability arguments, it's not really my fault if I beg to differ that that's what the case is. So, back to my point, for people like me who are of the idea that this world is all there is to see, just a small brush with the possibility that you might lose somebody you love hits hard, and it helps you realize just how much you need to give of yourself, give them what you feel you should emotionally invest, because this is all you have. You know what I mean? So for me, it really hit me hard. And when I sat outside the hospital that night, waiting on the doctor to tell us what was possibly going on with that, I was in a car listening to Zac Brown. And then in that moment, I just felt like I should write something down, because that's the best way I have come to know how to console myself, or just kind of get myself up on my feet and running. So I did that, wrote the poem down, and decided I should have it recorded just a few weeks after he recovered and everything else. And the piece kind of just echoes the fear of having to have your parent in such a situation. Yeah, and I think that's a poem that I will always return to, and that's a piece that I have shared with him, and I'm yet to hear his feedback. I wish I could have his reaction on camera so that you guys can see it, but unfortunately, that's not gonna happen. So with that said, that's about it. If you haven't heard the piece, I will put it in the description so that you can listen to it. And if you haven't subscribed, please do likewise, because like I always say, only in numbers do we truly grow, and only in numbers can our voice become something of serious importance. But if you are trading on isolated ground, there's no way your opinions are gonna matter. Okay, so one last thing I would like to say, just like a word of advice. Look, don't be scared to live your own life. Take it upon yourself to live your life and orchestrate it in a way that you want to. Write your own story. I wrote a poem about this very proposition, and it was called Feet in Your Own Shoes. A lot of people really don't have the balls to live their own life. They don't have the courage and the intellectual muscle and the grit to chart the course of their own life. Because you know what? We're really bargaining with a very serious bargain. It's a 50-50 thing where we're living in a world that admits of many possibilities. You know what I mean? And to have yourself narrowed down to a single possibility so hard that you can't even reach the full potential of your being is just a sad thing. And a lot of people have others do this whole living thing for them, because others tend to come across as confident and seeming to know what it is they're doing and saying, when in actuality they know about as little as you do. You know what I mean? So have the courage to live your life. And by live your life, I don't mean conceited, tunnel-viewed, base living, which is primarily mounted on which is primarily pleasure-driven. I mean, you could have a very meaningful and providential life. And if you put yourself in a position where you leave all that responsibility on your shoulders to chart a responsible life, it leaves you feeling noble at the end of it all. You know, it leaves you with a history you can look back to and say, look at what I did. I am the orchestrator of a story and a song that I myself can dance to. So don't have others do this living thing for you. Do it for yourself. It's not conceited, it's not egotistic, it's not self-centered, but it's actually authentic. It's original. You as a human being have an independent experience with which you can bring to the human experience that nobody else can. So if you don't do it, nobody's going to do it for you. So do it, and once for all time, start living your life. All right.